Hello, boys and girls. Today we are going to read the monologue Taggot in our Good Masters Sweet Ladies book. So if you would please take out your Good Masters Sweet Ladies book, a highlighter, and a pen or pencil so that you can annotate. Now I'm going to read the monologue for you out loud. You might choose to read it first by yourself or listen to me and then read it second by yourself. But you need to make sure you read it twice. First for comprehension and the second time for annotations and notes. Taggot, the blacksmith's daughter. 9 days it's been since the Maying, and I am restless yet. Mother hasn't seen it, nor father, nor Robin. Only the horses know. It was May Day, and the others, even father and mother at their age, set off for the woods, wanting bluebells and cowslips and kissing under the trees. I used to go when I was little. I liked to pick flowers and peek. But I'm older now, and my friends have sweethearts. There's no one for me, and I know why. I'm too big, Father says. His father was a giant of a man. Somehow his size came down to me. There's something else. I've stared into the round pool, and it's hard to tell. The waves never still. But I think I'm ugly. Big and ugly and shy in the bargain. Mother says I'll likely not marry at all. It's a world of trouble you'll save yourself, says Mother, childbearing and dying. And no doubt she's right. I always weep when the hogs are slaughtered, and I'm not strong enough to bear and lose. My fine big girl, that's Father. He taught me to work the work of the forge, and even Robin admits there's no one better to quiet a horse. I lay my big hands on them and feel them trembling. I know how they feel. They're like me, big and timid. So I breathe sweet peace to them, not with my lips, but through my fingers. And they hear me, not with their ears, but through their skin. The others went a-maying, and I stayed behind, spinning in the sunshine. The morn was clear as glass, and I was happy as a singing bird. And then he came, leading his horse, and the horse limping, head down, as fine a horse as I've ever seen. A fair gray palfrey, a wondrous horse, but I was gazing at the boy. He had brown hair, not golden like the knights in story, and his eyes were dark as rivers. The glory was his face, the shape of it. I don't have the words. He wore a blue cloak, bluer than the sky, and the clasp was a sprig of white hawthorn. He'd been a-maying. How I hated her, the girl he might have kissed. I was ashamed to be caught staring, but I put my hands on the palfrey, and he gentled as they always do. I ran my hand down the lame leg, picked up the hoof, and saw a stone caught between hoof and shoe, a grievous thing. Is the blacksmith in? His voice was like his face, proud and courteous. My palms were sweating. I can ease him. So I led the horse to the forge, and the master followed. I could tell right away that he loved his horse. I don't know what he thought, that a maid should know how to shoe a horse. He may have been startled. I daren't look. I set to work, and my hands were steady. All the time I was fishing for something to say. A fine morning, or even, what's your name? But I knew who he was. Sir Stephen's nephew. Hugo, they call him. He hunts in the wood. He killed a wild boar. I never did speak. I thought if I opened my mouth, he'd know my whole heart. When I finished, I wiped my hands on my apron, and he held out a coin, a farthing. I was sudden bold. I reached out my hand and shoved it away, and then touching him was what did it. My face got hot. I could almost hear Robin. Taggot's blushing. Look at Taggot. Taggot's red. I turned and ran back to the house, crouched down with my back to the door. I hid in my hands in my face. I don't know why or for how long. Afterward, I went outside, back to the forge. He was gone by then, long gone, and it seems a long life. I may live 50 years and not see him again, not close, not to speak to. There's a good smith up at the castle. Thinking that, I bent my head and saw, lying on the anvil, a miracle. That sprig of hawthorn from his cloak on the anvil. If it were on the ground, it might have only fallen, but 'twas on the anvil. I picked it up as if it were holy. I couldn't stop smiling. He left it for me. Okay, now I would like for you to pause the video and reread the monologue Taggot by yourself. Look for any good stanzas that help us to understand more about her. Today we're really going to work on character analysis. So what are things that she says or she does, or descriptions about her looks, or things that others may even say about her that help you to draw conclusions about her character. Also look for any figurative language or any signposts. So take a moment, pause the video now, and reread and annotate. So I hope you took a moment and were able to reread and annotate the story or the monologue of Taggot. And now I would like for you to write a summary. Using your graphic organizer, complete the steps. Somebody, who is our main character? Taggot. And what was Taggot's goal? Now, you may take this goal in a very literal sense. Taggot wanted to talk to Hugo. Or you may look at this through a more figurative lens. Taggot wanted to go a-maying and to be seen as beautiful by someone else. However you interpreted her goal. So, what's her goal? And then, what is the problem? What keeps her from getting this goal? Maybe it's in a literal sense. She's too nervous or fearful to talk to Hugo. Perhaps it's, but she is big and timid and shy, and so she doesn't think that people like her. She says that she thinks she might be ugly. So what are the problems for Taggot? Why can she not accomplish this goal? And so, what is the solution? How is this problem solved? Hugo leaves the sprig of hawthorn on the anvil. She gets up courage and goes back to the house. Figure out for yourself what the solution to the goal is. And then, how does the story end? The story ends with Taggot believing that Hugo actually might have liked her. Or the story ends with Taggot keeping the sprig of hawthorn to remind her that she's beautiful. Or however you really interpreted that ending. So go through the steps of summary. Somebody wants it, but so then, and write a complete summary on your graphic organizer. You can pause the video. Great. Now. So I hope you were able to take a moment and complete your summary. It should be about 4 to 5 sentences. And now we're going to do some character analysis on Taggot. So characterization is when our author gives characters in the story human qualities. Things that they say, think, and do, or ways that the characters are described that make them seem like regular people. This could be direct. The author may directly tell us. One example from our text, when Taggot says she looked in the pool at her reflection and she thinks that she may be ugly. So that is a direct way that our author describes her when she says that she is big and timid and shy. So those are all physical descriptions of Taggot. Indirect is when you're able to infer things about the character based on what others say, think, or the character does. So it may be the time when her mother says that she's better off without getting married to be able to bear, because Taggot can't bear and lose. So Taggot in that moment is saying, you know, my mom says that I'll probably never get married, and that may be good because I don't want to have a child and then lose it because of disease or sickness. From that line, I can infer that Taggot is compassionate, that she is nurturing, that she's loving, because she wouldn't want to lose her child. The way that she takes care of the animals, the horses. She says that she gives them peace through her fingers. So that shows me that she's compassionate and nurturing. So I want you to take a second and pull out your graphic organizer. So your graphic organizer looks like this. First, think about things that Taggot says or thinks. Give me one example from the text, something that she says or thinks that helps you to draw a conclusion or infer about her personality. For me, I may use the line where she says that she could not bear and lose. That shows me that she is nurturing. Now, take a moment and think about the way that she looks, her physical appearance. We are told directly that she is big, that she might be ugly, that she's timid, that she's shy. So from that, you can come up with a description of her. Now in class, we're going to talk sometime about that description of her, physical. So she's giving us this really seemingly negative description of herself and how seeing yourself as maybe overweight or big could really damage a young girl emotionally. And so we're going to spend some time talking about that in class tomorrow. What are things that Taggot does that causes you to infer about her personality? Perhaps it's when she runs away from Hugo, or when she daringly touches his hand to get the money, the payment, or how she nurtures and takes care of the horses. Give me one example of something that she does that helps you to draw a conclusion about her personality. And then finally, what do others say or think about her? Her father says, "That's my big, fine girl." So how does her father feel about her? Does her father think that she's unattractive, or does he think that she's a good, fine person? Draw a conclusion based on any part of the text in which someone says or thinks something about her. So you should have at least 4 examples. And from those 4 examples, I want you to come up with an adjective. 4 different adjectives to describe Taggot. Maybe it's nurturing, compassionate, low self-esteem, giving, kind. Different adjectives that describe who she is. So take a moment and do that now. Wonderful. Now we're going to evaluate Hugo's character based on Taggot's story. So find a place in that monologue where Hugo says or thinks something. He comes looking for the blacksmith. So what does that show us about Hugo's personality? Taggot also describes Hugo's looks. She tells us about his brown hair. So write down an example in which we're told how he looks, and what is an adjective or a conclusion that you can draw about Hugo because of his physical description. An action. What is something that Hugo does? He leaves the sprig of hawthorn. He gives her the payment. He brings his horse to the blacksmith. Something that he does that helps you to draw a conclusion about his character. And finally, something that someone else says or thinks about him. And this selection, it would be Taggot. What is something that Taggot says or thinks about Hugo that helps you to draw a conclusion about Hugo's personality? So you should have 4 examples from the text and then 4 different adjectives to describe Hugo. So now your paper is complete. If you need to pause the video to finish, go ahead. Tomorrow in class, we will review Taggot. We will go through our summaries together, and we will talk about the different examples from the text that help us to draw conclusions about her character. Also take time and look for any conflict, man versus man versus nature, man versus society, and man versus himself. Happy reading!